This evening we've been looking at three basic interpersonal needs of inclusion, control, and affection, and how the loss of control may lead to panic attacks, and we've commented that the loss of affection or inadequately met affection and inclusion needs may contribute to a tendency toward suicide. In the rest of the class this evening, we're going to be focusing on suicide. We recognized in conclusion in that last segment that if panic attacks are severe enough, that too may contribute to suicide. Your textbook identifies some myths about suicide. I'll be curious to find out whether in fact these were myths to you. There is research that suggests that people are better informed about suicide, that things we once thought were myths really aren't anymore. Now maybe this is simply a function of the educational process, that hotlines, crisis centers, classes like this, whatever, through one means or another, the public is being educated, and so some things that traditionally have been called myths are not. But one that is commonly purported to be a myth is that talking about suicide, discussing it with the person, will cause them to do it or will increase the likelihood of their doing it. Well, this is simply not true. And the evidence suggests, the case studies from professional psychotherapists suggest that this is not the case, and that if you suspect someone is suicidal, then you need to address that issue and deal with it. A second purported myth is that clients who threaten suicide don't do it. Yeah, they do. People talk about it and then they attempt it, and many are successful at that. So don't assume that just because someone is talking about it that that's all they're doing, is simply talking about it. A third myth is that suicide is an irrational act. Well, it may look irrational to you or to another outsider, but from the point of view of the individual involved, it's a very rational thing. It makes perfect sense at the time, given the circumstances. A fourth myth is that people who commit suicide are insane. No, they're often very normal, whatever normal is. They're normal people, they're folks like you and me, and they're not inherently or necessarily insane. A fifth myth is that suicide runs in families, that it's an inherited tendency. That's simply not the case either. There may be some influence by association that it's a learned activity, that it's learned as a natural response to a situation, or maybe not a natural response, but as a possible choice. But it's not a genetic thing, it's not an inherited tendency. Another myth, once suicidal, always suicidal. No, although you may have individuals who have had repeated occurrences, there are folks who are suicidal, who are cured, who become better, who go on to lead healthy, productive lives. Myth number 7, when a person has attempted suicide and pulls out of it, the danger is over. Not necessarily. Sometimes that upswing period is the most dangerous time just because it involves so much stress and change and pressure, and we'll be seeing more of that. And then finally, that a person who begins to show generosity, who shares their personal possessions, is showing signs of recovery and renewal. This generally is not the case, and as we'll see, may be one of the primary signals to you that there really is something wrong, that this person is not just thinking about attempting suicide, they're serious about it, and what they're doing is getting their affairs in order, almost like carrying out their own last will and testament. They want to be sure that the right people receive the right personal and special belongings and so forth. So we're going to be looking at some of the characteristics of people who are suicidal and exploring more of these kinds of dimensions. But I wanted to give this to you in overview. We're going to bring Ginger back up here shortly. She's wearing a slightly different hat this time. This is a very versatile undergraduate that we have here. She is a playwright, and she has a play called that she's written, produced, that's been performed 3 times now, called When Trouble's on Your Doorstep, Don't You Cry. And we're going to be learning more about that and the research that she did in preparation for that that's given her some special insights into this. And I think we're going to have some role playing before the evening's over. So, Ginger, I'm going to trade cheers with you again, and you're back on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
8.5 years ago, I lived in a little tiny town called Rose Hill. It's a little suburb of Wichita, Kansas. We had a whole lot of bedroom communities out there. We had a whole lot of really bored teenagers who kept trying to kill themselves. Not just in Rose Hill, but in the little towns around. And the kids were concerned. No one had actually succeeded, but there had been 6 or 7 attempts in a matter of 3 or 4 weeks. And I was working with the teenagers at our church, and they were really upset and felt like we ought to do something. We ought to be able to do something to make this stop. So we decided we'd write a play, which was real brave and adventurous because none of us had any experience. But we decided we'd do it because we had to do something. So we talked and we did research and we role played and we worked through and we taped discussions and we did all kinds of things, and we came up with this play, When Trouble's on Your Doorstep, Don't You Cry. And one of the girls wrote songs for it, and we produced it, and as a community service project, and it went really well. And I produced it a couple of other times after that. It seemed to be a really positive public outreach that we used through several different church groups and Christian coffee houses that we did it at. I continue to be interested in suicide. It's a real problem. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. We have children who commit suicide. Their hopelessness level is so high, and the higher their hopelessness level is, the lower their repulsion of death. And if their hopelessness level gets high enough, then they won't be repulsed by death at all. And we have little kids who do commit suicide. Some of them are just under severe stress and pressure to succeed or perform. Some of them have really bad problems at home, and some of them are just really depressed. Some of them, we don't know why. But it's really sad when children have so much stress that they can't handle it or feel so bad that they choose death over life. For teenagers, the stresses can be drugs and alcohol, family problems, fitting in with their peer group, relationship problems, suicide pacts, stress and pressure to succeed and perform, which goes all through life. We have the stress and pressure to succeed and perform that some people take so seriously, and they're such perfectionists that it just, their self-image is so low because they're never as high as their expectations are, no matter how well they do. And if it can just take one thing to really push them over the edge. Poor self-image, depression. There was the mailman in Galveston, I think, who found the suicide note from the teenager and saved her right before Christmas. Found her about ready to jump off the balcony. She had a rope tied around her neck or a scarf or sash or something. But he went around and couldn't get into the house, and he went around and to the emergency station around the corner, and then went back and got in the house and went in and walked up the stairs and kept talking to her until he finally ran up the last few steps and grabbed her and cut the sash because she was ready to jump. Now, we don't know that she'll be better, but I think her mother had died, and she was just really despondent. It can be, the things that push people to suicide are so real, and they're so heavy. People talk about suicide, you have to believe them, even if they talk about it over and over. They may need professional help, but you have to take time, you have to listen. For adults, stress, distress, pressure to succeed, poor self-image, drugs, alcohol, family problems, relationship problems, or disillusion, depression. I mean, it's the same stuff. Perceived lack of power. In the last couple of months, there have been 2 parents, one man, one woman, who have killed their children and then themselves. One I heard on the radio coming in, they're divorced. They can't see their kids as much as they want, or they have all this control over their kids, but they're having financial problems, or there's just so much stress and pressure, and they just don't think they can handle it, and they don't think their kids will be okay. And the woman who shot her kids, they're both paralyzed and living with their dad now because they didn't die, and it was 5 days before someone found them. but she died. And the man killed his children and then set the van on fire and then went outside and shot himself. You have to be really in bad straits to think that way and to hurt. But people get that way. We all, if we thought about it and admitted it, could say that at one time or another in our life, at least the idea has gone through our heads that it's a possibility, it's a choice. Now, hopefully it just goes right on, just goes through and passes on. But it doesn't always. Sometimes that choice seems less painful than the options. For older adults, pain, loneliness, fear, depression, loss of power and control, loss of important things if they've been moved to a nursing home, loss of their loved ones. And then there's euthanasia, which is a whole other issue, but it is assisted suicide, and it's the same kind of thing. It's the same. Generally, it's more physical pain, but often it's emotional and mental pain also. But we have to be careful not to destroy the sufferer, just to relieve the suffering, and to medical science has come a long way. Medical science has come a long way with pain medication and different pain control methods that they have now that they didn't used to have. Okay. Do you know some signs to look for when people are suicidal? Like if they talk about it, or if they say, well, you won't have to deal with me anymore. I won't be in your way anymore. You won't have me to kick around anymore. Well, I'll just leave for good. People who say those kinds of things. Allison?
Also asking for different types of ways to commit suicide. You know.
Suggestions?
Yeah, suggestions.
Giving away all their stuff, the things that mean the most to them. Planning it, telling people that they're planning it, how they're planning to do it. All of these things are real. There are several good examples in your textbook of different case studies and scenarios. Okay, well, let's look at one teenage suicide. One day in the life of one teenager who committed suicide, and this is from the play that I wrote. Now, none of the things that happened to this girl on this one day in and of itself was a bad thing. And we all have fights with our parents, fights with our boyfriends, fights with our significant other, things that happen that are a drag that we wish wouldn't happen. But if you're already in a state of depression, high stress, anxiety, and you have a really terrible day, sometimes it can push you over the edge. Okay, Danny and Andy, Act 1, Scene 1. Guys, just come up here with me. Everybody's just going to read their part.
Who are these people?
Oh, they're best friends.
She's my best friend.
Okay.
I'll let you hold it.
All right.
You need your hand adjuster.
Yeah, I'll just wave the papers. It's okay. I can do this.
Okay.
What'd you think of the algebra test today?
It was awful. I couldn't remember anything. I just blanked out. I know I got an F on it.
But Andy, you're the one that's always been so smart in math. What happened?
Nothing.
What do you mean, nothing? Didn't you study last night?
I tried to study. My mother decided it was time for me to clean up the entire house. I had to clean up the kitchen, scrub the bathroom, vacuum all the carpet, dust, pick up everything in the house, take out the trash. I even had to clean up my closet. I swear, since she got that other job, I feel like a slave. As soon as I walk in the door, it's Andrea, do this, Andrea, do that. Seems like it's all she ever says to me anymore. I just hate her.
But I thought that you and your mom got along so well.
Oh, there's a lot you don't know about me, Danielle Foster.
Like what? I thought we were best friends. Andy, talk to me.
Why should I? You're so cute and popular at school. It just makes me sick. All the cute guys want to go out with you. You have the pick of the crop. Just like always. Sometimes I hate you as much as I hate my mother.
But Andy, how can you say such dreadful things to me? Besides, what about you and Mike?
Oh, Mike would go out with you in a second if I wasn't in the way. He's always talking about how great your legs are. Anyway, I know you like JJ better than you like me, and don't try to lie your way out of it either. I just watch you and JJ at school, and a brother, John Eric, makes me want to throw up the way he drools all over you.
What What are you talking about?
I see you hugging each other all the time. It's disgusting.
We're just good friends, Andy. Honest. We're just closer because of God.
I've had it with you and your excuses. Miss Perfect, I'm just not good enough to be your friend. I'm ugly, I'm stupid, and I don't fit in. Everybody hates me, almost as much as I hate them. Don't think I'm deaf and blind. I hear the way everybody talks about me all the way, talks about my dad leaving. It's not my fault he couldn't stand to live with my mother anymore. If she hadn't treated him like a slave, maybe he'd still be here. Nobody at school understands that because they never took the time to ask. They were too busy spreading rumors and gossiping about us. Like they all think they're better than me. Well, they're not. I'm just as good as the rest of you guys. And I don't give it away to the football team like Sherry, or party like the rest of the snobs.
Andy, how can you say that? They're just regular people like you and me.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm just wrong again. What's new? It just means that I'm stupider than I thought. And I'll never get a scholarship and be able to go to college and get out of my mother's house. No wonder my dad left. His wife treated him like a slave, and his daughter is stupid and ugly. I don't even know why you bothered trying to be my friend. Your life is so perfect. Your parents still love each other. You have all your friends at church. You're popular at school. You're so beautiful you make me want to vomit. And you're smart. Next to you, I'm just nothing. Nothing.
Andy, wait.
Leave me alone. Don't waste any more of your precious time on me. I'm not worth it. Just leave me alone.
Oh, Andy, you make me so mad sometimes. What am I going to do? I try to help you, but you just push me away. You've changed so much. I don't hardly even know how to talk to you anymore. Every time I try and talk to you, I say all the wrong things to you, and you get mad and leave. What am I going to do?
Good job.
I'll just stick this on here. Okay, so Andy and Danny had a fight. Big deal. Sounds like a pretty typical fight. I had kids fight so I could hear them. I snuck up on people fighting so I could hear how the dialogue went. This is a pretty normal fight for teenagers. One of them having a down day, one of them having no idea why the other one's having a down day. Trying to understand with no luck. Okay, next scene. Catherine and Andy. So Andy comes home from having a fight with her best friend to have a fight with her mom.
I don't know.
No, it was
We're,
earlier.
yeah, we're getting a lot of noise and feedback. I don't know. Darren, are you out at Cinco? You may not be out there tonight.
I think you get to start this one.
Where have you been, Andrea? I've been waiting for you to get home from school.
I was just at Danny's house studying, Mother.
I thought I told you to come straight home from school today. Now, there's a list of chores you need to do this evening, and I want everything done, not half done like yesterday, including your homework, before I get home tonight.
But, Mom,
Here's
I've
your
got
list.
a chemistry test to study for.
If you manage your time right, you'll find that you have plenty of time to do your chores, your homework, and still get to bed at a decent hour.
But, Mom!
No buts about it, Andy. I don't have time to argue with you right now. I've got to go. Just do all the things on the list, and don't forget that pile of stuff on the coffee table. It's not a dump site, you know.
Can't I take a break first? I'm tired. I just got home from school.
I don't care how you manage your time as long as you do the things I've asked you to do. And I don't want you to waste time on the phone. I expect you to be able to get through when I call. I expect to be able to get through when I call to check on you later this evening.
But, Mom! Oh, forget it. You just don't understand.
What is it that I don't understand now? It's not easy being your mother and your father, you know. Do you think I like working two jobs? I hate it. You think you're tired?
Well, I work too, you know. I work hard at school, and I do most of the housework, plus trying to keep up on my homework.
But your work doesn't put food on the table or help to keep a roof over our heads, does it? All I ask is for a little cooperation from you, and all I get are arguments and excuses. I asked you to clean your room yesterday, but when I opened the door this afternoon to put your laundry away, I tripped over a pile of junk and nearly broke my ankle. That room is a disaster area.
But your room isn't clean.
I am the parent. This is my house and my rules, and you will abide by them as long as you live here, young lady.
No wonder Daddy left.
Don't start with me, Andrea. Just mind me. If I don't leave right this minute, I'll be late. I love you. And don't forget, I'll be calling you later. So don't spend your study time on the phone. Bye.
It's not fair. Nobody else in the whole world has to put up with the totally unfair rules my mother makes. I hate her. All I am is her slave. It's just not fair. Oh, Daddy, why did you leave? Why did you leave me?
Just a regular fight with her mom. I have fights not too dissimilar from this with my own daughter. Now that she's 13, they're not quite that bad, but sometimes they are. The next thing that happens is Andy sings this lovely little song, and then Andy and Danny have another fight on the phone, which we won't go into, where Andy just keeps hanging up on Danny, even though Danny's trying really hard to understand. Andy is really cranky now. She's had 2 fights. So then she calls her boyfriend. Silly girl. Do you have that? You guys can do it from the microphones if you want. That's fine. The phone rings 12 times. Bring. Bring.
I can't concentrate on this stupid chemistry. Maybe Mike wants to come over and help me study.
Ring. Ring.
Hello?
What took you so long to answer the phone? It rang 12 times. I was about to hang up.
Sorry, babe. I'm watching the game with my dad. It's Raiders and the Cowboys. Guess we got sort of wrapped up in it. So, what are you doing?
Oh, nothing. Same old stuff. My mom left me a list of chores a mile long, and of course they all have to be done tonight.
Oh, I know. My folks do that to me all the time.
Not like my mom does. She's been a real drill sergeant lately. You should hear her. She treats me like I'm her own personal slave or something. I just hate her.
Uh-huh, yeah.
She makes me sick thinking that she is the only one who works. I work hard too, you know. I do almost all the housework for her. I don't see how she can possibly think that she's the only one who works. Just because
I know.
she works and pays the bills, I'm too young to get a job, and besides I've got my grades to think about.
Uh-huh.
I think I flunked my algebra test today.
Really?
How'd you do on it?
Uh-huh.
That teacher just hates me. I just know she does. She'd probably flunk me even if I did a decent job on the test. She acts like we're in college already or something. She doesn't even explain half the stuff so that we can understand it. She's so awful, don't you think so?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Tomorrow's the chemistry test. Are you ready for it? I thought maybe you could come over and we could study together.
Oh,
Well,
really?
the moon is purple.
Uh-huh.
I dyed my hair green today.
Oh.
I flew to Mars this afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
You're not even listening to me.
Huh? Yeah, sure I am, babe. So, when do you want me to pick you up tomorrow? I thought maybe we'd catch a movie, then go out and get a Coke, and park somewhere for a couple of hours. How does that sound?
Mike, you haven't heard a word I've said. How can you be so insensitive? You don't even care about what an absolutely horrid day I've had.
Well, sure I do, babe. Will you look at that? What a run! All right, touchdown for the Cowboys. Wow. Check out the bodies on those cheerleaders.
Mike! Oh, man, you're all alike. I hate you all. I never want to see you again as long as I live.
Women. How can a guy possibly understand them?
I hate everybody. Nobody cares. Nobody understands. I'm sick of it. I hate everybody my entire life. I hate everybody in my life. I hate school. I hate housework. I hate doing housework. I hate the way I look. I hate my hair. Just hate my life. I'm so sick of it all, I could just lay down and die. I just can't take it anymore. Well, you're all going to be sorry. Just wait. You'll all be sorry you didn't care and pay attention when I needed you. I'll make you sorry. There's got to be something I can do. Okay. I've got to think for a minute. Now that'll work. Okay. Where does my mother keep those pretty pink pills the doctor gave her to keep her from being so depressed and crying all the time? She doesn't even begin to know the meaning of depression. Those pills have got to be around here somewhere.
Very good. Considering you guys have never seen the script before tonight, you're doing really, really well. Then all the friends kind of rally around Danny because she's all upset and she wants everybody to help her figure out what to do to help Andy, but nobody really knows what to do. So then Andy gets really upset and does it and writes the suicide note. You can do it from there if you like.
Okay. I'll show them. I'll make everybody sorry they were so mean to me. It's their fault. It's all their fault. If only Daddy hadn't left. Then the kids at school wouldn't have started making fun of me, and my grades wouldn't have fallen. Mom wouldn't have had to take a second job, and I wouldn't be stuck with all the housework. Nobody likes me anymore. It's not my fault that I'm ugly. It's Mom and Dad's fault. Well, they're all going to pay. Let's see. Elavil. 100 milligrams. Take twice daily for depression. These ought to do the trick. Here's looking at you, kid. I'm going to write a note. I want them all to know why I did this. I don't want there to be any doubt in their minds. To whom it may concern. As if anybody's really going to be concerned. Let's see. I think I'll start with Mother. Dear Mother, wherever I am by the time you read this is better than being with you. Your life should be a lot easier now, with me out of the way. Of course, you won't have me for a slave anymore. That's probably why Daddy left, because you treated him like you treat me. Well, now we're both gone, and you're all alone. I better underline that twice. I'm sure you won't understand why I'm doing this, because you never understand anything I say or do. If you were here, you'd tell me how wrong I am, because you always think you know what's best and right. Well, I've got news for you. Your right answers have turned my life into a living nightmare. You treat me like Cinderella, except the shoe doesn't fit. There is no prince for me. Please don't feel like this is all your fault. Just read on. Now for Mike. Dear Mike, whenever I really need you, it seems like you're always too busy. Just like tonight with that stupid football game. I really thought we had a good thing going, but I guess it was all in my head. Now, if I looked like a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, I would be in your head and on your mind, and there wouldn't have been a problem. But I'm not a cheerleader. I'm ugly, ugly, ugly. My hair is ugly, my face is ugly, my whole entire body is ugly. I'm ugly to the bone. Well, you don't have to worry about fitting me into your busy schedule anymore, or listening to complain about my life. I'm sure that with your looks, you'll be able to replace me quite easily with a beautiful girl whose life isn't as complicated and messed up as mine is, or was. You really are a Class A jerk, you know? Now it's time to tackle kids at school, and even the teachers. I hate them all so much, I don't even know where to begin. So I'll begin there. I despise the ground you walk on with your cliches and better than anybody else attitudes. You've made me feel like dirt. It's not my fault my dad left, but thanks to people like Candy and, everybody else like her, being mean and spreading awful lies and rumors about me and my mom and dad, you could have cared. You could have asked, but no, that would have been beneath you. You were all too busy being popular and beautiful to take the time. Well, I just want you all to know that I despise each and every one of you, except for Danny. Dear Danny, I really am sorry. Sorry that you wasted your time on me. Sorry for any problems I caused for you, socially or otherwise. You were the only one who really stuck by me, no matter what. And I really love you for that. But I have a real stupid way of showing it. And I'm sorry for that, too. But it's so hard being your friend. I mean, your life is so perfect, so great, so easy compared to mine. I just can't stand to mess up your life by being in it anymore. I'm sorry you couldn't help me. I know you really tried. But I'm just a hopeless case. Nobody in the world can help me. Not even you. Please try to understand. You're the only person in the whole world I'm going to miss. Now it's your turn, Daddy. Dear deserter, I don't know where you are or why you left us, even though I've really tried to understand. It's probably because I'm so ugly and such a problem child. But that can't be the only reason. I just wish you hadn't gone away without talking to me first. You ran out on me. You left me. I'm your daughter, your own flesh and blood, and all you left me was a stupid bogey poster and your dumb old hat and a picture of you. Memories. Nothing but memories. In some ways, I hate you most of all. You really screwed up my life. There. That covers everybody. Guess I better sign my name so there's no question about it that I, Andrea Kathleen Elmquist, wrote this.
Ring.
Hello?
Andy, it's Mama. I'm sorry about our fight. It's just that I'm under a lot of pressure right now trying to get us back on our feet. You know I love you, and I really do appreciate you helping me out with the housework, honey.
Sure, Mom.
Maybe we can take in a movie this weekend. I'm sure that I can work that into my schedule if you can. So what do you think?
I don't know.
Come on, Andrea. I'm trying to make up with you. Help me out a little, please.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Mom. Whatever you think to do is all right with me. Movie would be fine.
Great. Then it's a date. Have you started your homework yet?
Not yet.
Well, you'd better get started. It's almost 9 o'clock. Don't stay up too late. I'm going to have to stay late this evening to finish up some of the paperwork, so I won't see you till in the morning. I'm sorry, honey, but I won't have to work 2 jobs forever. Hopefully just for a few more months. Anyway, sweet dreams. I love you. Good night.
Bye, Mom. Oh, Mama. I'm sorry, too. I feel so weird. These pills must be a lot stronger than I thought. I must have taken too many. I've got to call Mom. Oh, please, help me find the phone. Mom? Mom? Help me. I'm too young to die. Danny? Mama? Daddy? Somebody help me. Please. Help me. Help me. I'm sorry. God, oh dear. God, please forgive me. I didn't mean to. Please. Help me. Please.
Andy does die. She didn't mean to. Most teenagers don't mean to. But it often happens. When you talk about the methods people use to commit suicide, I'll try to speak up. When you talk about the methods people use to commit suicide, Andy used pills. Females often use either pills, poison, or car exhaust. And in surveys that they've done, people perceive that method of suicide as slow, painless, easy, cowardly, feminine, tidy, and planned. Those things are not necessarily true, but that's still how people perceive them. Males are often more frequently successful at committing suicide, but they often use far more violent methods: guns, hanging, or jumping from a high place, not just jumping. Hard to die that way, unless you're in a really low place. Anyway, in the same survey, those methods of suicide were perceived as impulsive, quick, painful, difficult, irreversible, dramatic, masculine, and messy. What do you do after someone you know commits suicide? Do you have any choices? How does society see you if a member of your family or your fiance or your husband or your child has committed suicide? Karen?
I would think that you would at least feel that society at large judges you as some kind of a failure because you didn't meet the needs of that person. You somehow failed them. And so therefore, this is some kind of a punishment that you possibly deserve.
Nancy?
Grief is a real difficult thing anyway, but to have someone, in your family die as a result of suicide, I would imagine that there's a lot of guilt involved in that, which would make it a lot more difficult.
Unless there's an obvious outside reason for the suicide.
I wasn't personally acquainted with, but like one friend away from a family where the father committed suicide, and I know that there was a lot of anger on the part of his sons, particularly, at that he left them, and that, that's a normal part of grief anyway, but when you know the person has chosen it, there's, it's got to be tons more.
Right. That's true. And it's just socially unacceptable to kill yourself. It's just
Maybe embarrassing.
Edna?
Back in high school, there was a group of four of us, four friends. It was David, Todd, Juan, and myself. They went to visit a girlfriend of ours. She was just real good friends with Dave, who was having a lot of problems with her boyfriend and stuff. Well, it was New Year's Eve, and we all wanted to go out because it was Juan's birthday the next day. So we went to pick her up, and she didn't want to come out. She didn't want to go out with us, and so we didn't try to, push her to come out with us or anything like that, and Dave had went in to talk to her and stuff, and she said, "Oh no, go ahead without us, I'm fine." And then we got a call the following day that she had killed herself, and it was so hard. I mean, I wasn't really that close to her as Dave and Todd were, but it was so hard for us because we were there, the night before, and we could have done something if we had really pushed her to come out with us. Maybe we could have done something. So it was real hard for all of us at that point. Like, what could we have done?
That's real common guilt. Yes, Jacqueline?
I had a sister that tried to kill herself 3 times, and I found that it was wide swings of emotion in the family, somewhere between rage and fear, because you always worried if you left her for a minute, she would try it again, and darn it if she didn't. But her case was that she found out she only had 5 years to live, so she couldn't handle the fact that she was going to die anyway. And so she would accumulate pills and try that. But I found in our family it was tremendous swings of emotion, and it really can break up a family. It was very difficult to keep together.
That's just tear you apart. Allison?
Well, I have a friend who tried unsuccessfully for 4 years of her life to kill herself with a razor blade to the wrist. And
couldn't she figure out which way to go?
I'm
sorry, but...
No, my point I was bringing up is that it caused a lot of frustration with me, and I eventually got to the point where I just said, if you really want to do it, go get a gun and do it that way, or let me help you do it if you really want to die that bad, because she was leaving herself in situations where people would find her. She was very predictable in her means. She would call me and say, "Oh, I'm thinking about doing something stupid." Well, that interrupts my life, because then I feel this overwhelming responsibility for her life. And then, she would try to go admit herself into hospitals and run away. Or, we would go out of town and visit people at A&M. And she always said, well, if I disappear, go look for me in the bathroom. And the way I usually do it is I fill up a sink or a bathtub and I soak my arms and then I do it. And I always had this deathly fear of finding her in a bathroom at a party or something like that. She was always running off, and I was always having to chase her. And finally, she got help and figured out that she was manic depressive, and she got medication. But, she tried to stop that medication every once in a while, and she would fall right back into it. But now she's better. So.
Oh, good. And is your life calmer?
Somewhat. It's calmer. I mean, she handles things a little better than she used to, but she's moved out of one bad situation into another one, kind of, so.
That can happen, too. Edna?
It's real hard to deal with it, because I tried a couple times, because I had a lot of problems, when I finally, I guess, grew out of it, or whatever you want to call it, now I have the scars on my wrists, from where I did it, and it's like, it's like a responsibility to look at yourself, and see them every morning and know, I was that stupid, what was I trying to do, So it's like a fear to make every day count for something, that I before didn't want it to count.
That's really good.
Can you remember the difference in feeling, in your mind state and your attitude between then and now?
Yeah, a lot of times it was, I'm very insecure. I have very low self-esteem because of a lot of problems that happened at home. And it was during the time that my parents were getting divorced and my father was really abusive. And my boyfriend was going to leave me. So that I had a real fear of
powerless and hopeless.
That I couldn't do anything. And this way I thought, well, if I do something, maybe he'll stay with me. Maybe my dad won't leave. Maybe this won't happen, So
it was a control.
Control and inclusion and affection. You had it all racked up against you. You pulled out really well.
Yeah, you did, Edna. That's good. It is really difficult for the family. They have the regular grieving process that they have to go through, plus a lot of questions And then a society who doesn't always know what to do. In cultures before, they used to mutilate the bodies and not bury them in the churchyard, and
With the good folk.
with the good folk, or burn them up and put the ashes somewhere else, or there were just some terrible things that they would do, let the dogs eat them, or just do really nasty things and ostracize the family. Families would often move other places. So it's more socially and culturally acceptable than it used to be, but it's so hard to grasp and to know what to do. I mean, what do you say to someone whose child has committed suicide? You say regular things. You say, "I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Is there anything I can do?" I read an article by a woman whose husband committed suicide, and she said that the things that she appreciated most and the things that surprised her the most, she'd been a high school principal, and so she had dealt with people in death and dying and grieving situations a lot. She'd been an elementary school principal and had worked her way up to high school principal, and now she was at a university. But for her, she just had total cognitive loss. She was unable to make plans, to assess information, to carry on meaningful discussions about planning strategies. She had a really strong need for certainty because of this drastic uncertainty, stress, and trauma in her life. And it took her a year to really come out of that. That's a long time. You have to have friends who really love you to help you get through a year. Anytime someone dies, it takes a long time, but people are just different. Karen?
I was going to comment that, and sometimes you even impose this on yourself. I'm a widow, and I've been, that was like 12 years ago, so I have a much longer term perspective on it now. And I know that certainly, and wasn't involved with suicide, but just speaking from even just grief, there's even an expectation on the part of the grieving person that in a month or two I should be through with this. So I'm looking back on it now, I can now look at it and say, no, I wasn't. You keep going through various stages of it, and you learn different things. And so now I know to expect from other people that I wouldn't impose a thing, because I think there is, even if other people don't say it to you, there is an expectation that and I certainly felt it, that at some point, and I'm not sure how long it's supposed to be, depending, especially if you have children, you're supposed to pick up and start working on life and making a life and that kind of thing. And if you're sort of feeling paralyzed, but I don't know what to do, that would be the very hardest thing to do. And yet you're starting to feel like there's an expectation of, okay, you've grieved, yeah, that was terrible.
Get a grip.
No, but we're a fast food society. We're a quick, instant package, frozen food, fast food.
On a sitcom, in half an hour, and you've solved it.
Everything is fixed in an hour at the most. I mean, maybe a mini series, and it takes 3 nights, but it's got to be really good.
Well, like in the old days, a woman was supposed to grieve for so many months or so many years before she even considered another marriage proposal or even went out of the house, So for us now, it's a lot different than that. You're supposed to just go on.
Well, Scarlett O'Hara was depressed that she had to grieve for a whole year because she couldn't meet her inclusion needs. No party dresses, and so forth. But.
Nancy?
Well, one thing, too, about suicide, it's a sudden loss, and those are the ones that seem like no one is prepared for anyone to die, really. But the sudden loss kind of is a real difficult type thing to grieve through.
It is. And this woman said the things that she was most grateful for were people who cared, people who shared, people who came and took care of daily things like laundry, making sure she got the bills paid, taking the dog to the vet, covering for her at work, not expecting her to be okay, but letting her grieve and be messed up until she wasn't anymore. That just gave her time to heal.
And many of the things that apply here apply also in a regular death situation, the need for help around home or paying the bills or doing the dishes or just those normal things that help you survive whatever that situation is.
Now
So
for-
we'll see some overlap.
For me, when I'm in crisis situations, the things I do, because I was at home for 14 years, I do housework. I'll do laundry and wash dishes and clean floors and clean bathrooms and run the vacuum because that's a normal thing. It's something that makes me feel like I have some control of my life. So if I'm in crisis, I have a really clean house. I'm just under a lot of stress
If
now.
I
I'm in
call her
college.
at 2 a.m. and she's vacuuming
mean-
or something.
There's a problem. Most people aren't that way, though. And my house certainly isn't that clean right now. I'm just under stress. I'm just in college. There's no crises. Karen?
Kind of connect up that, yeah, I observed there were some other people who had losses, people I knew at church, who had losses probably within a year or two of mine. And in one case it was an accident, but again, the suddenness, and I noticed, and I really remember thinking how much more traumatic that was because of, in my particular case, it was there was an illness involved, and we had some warning ahead of time. And I remember thinking how much better off I was because I had some warning for this. And I was horrified to think about what happens when it's sudden. And as I say, there is that feeling of, that there's always this anger people in grief have over, you left me. But in my case, it was like, I knew he didn't have a choice. I can always reason my way out of this knowing he really didn't have a choice. He wouldn't have done this if he could have. And the problem I would think with suicide is the feeling of they did have a choice and they chose to leave. And I know there was a family in the neighborhood I lived when I lived just a little while ago, when my son was younger, who the mother committed suicide, and within a few years, I think within a year, her daughter also committed suicide because, again, from the trauma now created by the death of mom.
And it's not genetic, but it's situational.
Right.
Because the traumas keep compounding.
We're going to do a couple of other role plays where people are dealing with the death of someone due to suicide. And Jason's going to come up and be the grandfather of Andreea and read a letter from the funeral. Come up and be old, Jason.
I don't want to be old.
I'd like to try to read a letter to my granddaughter. Please, bear with me. Dear Andreea, I remember when you were little and you used to come and spend your summers on the farm with your grandma and me. You were so cute with your long blonde pigtails flying behind you as you re-explored every nook and cranny of the barns and sheds, oohing and awing over the newest litter of kittens, squealing when the little puppies licked your pretty face. What a delight you were to watch. I especially remember the summer when you turned 6. You'd get up with the sun, throw on a t-shirt and shorts, and race out to the pasture behind the big barn so you could watch the butterflies wake up. You'd wade through the grass and butterfly milkweed and sunflowers while hundreds of butterflies took flight to avoid being trampled by your exuberant feet. And when you reached the middle of the pasture, you'd stand facing the sun and lift your arms to the sky and dance with the thousands of black and yellow butterflies as they fluttered, just out of your reach, drying the dew from their wings in the morning sun. Such a beautiful child, full of innocence and joy. My beloved Andreea, that is how I shall always remember you. Love, Grandpa.
Thank you, Jason. I wrote that letter to jerk as many tears as it could. It still makes me leak. I hate that letter. But I keep it because it does its job. It helps the grandparents remember something different. And sometimes that's really important. To have that vision, that image of what was so separate from what just happened can really help you cope. And then we have another role play where two best friends, one of them committed suicide and one of them goes to the park. Do you guys just want to sit where you are or you want to come up here?
Oh, come on. You sure you don't want to come up?
I'm supposed to be off the
Right, you're dead.
Yeah, I knew that you'd come here. I just knew it.
Oh, Jaid, if you were here, I'd kill you.
Too late. I already took care of that.
How dare you give up? What made you think that your life was so much more awful than anybody else's? What made you think you were so special, huh?
I wasn't special, don't you see?
How could you kill yourself? Who gave you the right?
Well, who died and left you in charge? It's my life, my choice.
It's just not fair. You chickened out.
Probably seems that way to you, doesn't it? I never thought about that.
Your life wasn't all that bad, you know. It's just no worse than mine.
Just shows how much you know.
And my life's not exactly a bed of roses, you know.
Sounds painful to me.
Why do people say that? Roses look pretty and smell nice, but the thorns hurt. Maybe my life is a bed of roses.
Could be.
I'm so mad at you, Jaid. How dare you abandon me, especially now?
And just what's so special about now?
All the kids at school are gossiping about you. It's just awful. And they keep asking me questions like I'm supposed to know why you went and killed yourself.
Well, you are, or were, my best friend. If you don't know, then who does?
I have no idea what possessed you and made you think it was a good idea to take all those pills. I wish to God I did know, or had known. Maybe I could have stopped you, or found you in time, or made you laugh, or something.
No, you're not supposed to feel bad, Tori.
Maybe we weren't as good of friends as I thought we were. You didn't call me and tell me how depressed you were or upset you were. You just crammed as many of those pills and as many different kinds as you could find down your throat, and probably did it as fast as you could, too, knowing you.
And just what's that supposed to mean?
Ooh, I hate you, Jaid Carmichael. You left me behind. You left me all alone.
I understand being alone, especially now. Boy, is it ever lonely out here.
We had such plans. We were going to go to college together. Do you remember?
Of course I remember. I haven't lost my memory.
What am I supposed to do now?
Don't ask me. I haven't done such a great job of coming up with the appropriate responses.
We always said we'd be forever friends, that nothing would come between us, not even our boyfriends.
Well, you know, things just don't always work out the way you want or plan for them to, you know?
Were you trying to die or just dying for attention?
I don't know. Desperate for attention, I guess. I didn't exactly plan not to exist in the same time and space as my friends and family, you know. I don't know what I was just doing.
I get so mad at you. If you were here, I'd swear I'd hit you as hard as I could. And then I'd hug you and cry really hard because I miss you so much.
Come on, Tori, it'll be all right, I promise. It'll be all right. Oh, God, why can't I do something to make her feel better? Why can't I touch her?
I miss you so much, Jaid. I just miss you.
Somebody help her. She needs somebody to hold her, somebody to care. Where is everybody?
Stop it. It's just stupid for you to be this upset. Jaid is gone, and that's all there is to it.
If only it was that simple.
I can't believe it. I watched them close the lid of that stupid coffin on your face. I watched them lower that stupid box into the ground, and I still can't really believe you're dead. I must really be stupid.
No, you're not stupid. I'm the one who is stupid. I thought it would be easier to not have to deal with the problems in my life. I thought I'd found the perfect answer to my problems. Boy, was I ever wrong.
Maybe Jaid was right. Maybe it was easier just to run away from your problems. At least the pain would stop.
No, the pain doesn't stop. You only think it will, but it doesn't. You still remember. You still hurt. Only you know how you made the wrong choice.
If I took a bunch of pills too, then Jaid and I could be together again. Only what if there's nothing there when you're dead?
There's definitely something. I'm just not sure of what I'd call it. Life? It's different. Unless I'm just in some kind of limbo.
But I can't even swallow Tylenol Juniors without gagging and puking my guts up. So I don't think I could stand a chance of being able to swallow handfuls of pills like Jaid did.
Good. Let's think about something else. How about a coconut banana mango shake?
But there's other ways to kill yourself. Only I can't stand the sight of my own blood, and guns are totally out of the question. And I can't stand pain, so I'm not sure what my options are.
How about life, okay? A coconut banana mango shake doesn't sound good to you. Let's see, how about a hot fudge sundae with lots and lots of whipped cream and 2 cherries on the top?
I read about a girl who... No, forget it, that sounds just too painful. There's got to be another way.
There is. Live. Live for both of us.
I hate this.
Nobody said it would be fun. Gee, where did that come from? I sound like my mother.
It's just not fair.
No, it's not, but life isn't fair. Oh my gosh, this is getting worse by the minute. The next thing you know, I'll be suggesting that she do something constructive with all this pent-up anxiety and energy and go home and clean her room.
Oh, I give up. I can't think of any way of killing myself that I could actually go through with.
Well, good.
I wish I could.
No, you don't. You only think that you do. Trust me on this one, Tori. Death is definitely not what it's cracked up to be. It's a drag being dead. I keep trying to tell you about it, but you either aren't listening or I can't get through to you.
I don't think I'll ever not miss you, Jaid. But I honestly can't think of a way to join you. At least, not today. Wherever you are, I hope you understand.
I understand.
I hope you know that I'll always miss you.
It's mutual.
I hate it that you're gone.
Ditto.
But I'll probably go find your grave once it doesn't look like a new grave and talk to you, even though you won't actually be there.
Well, you never know about these things.
'Cause you're the only friend I ever had who really understood me when I talked, you know, from deep inside me.
I know.
And even if you won't actually be there, it'll be like you're there, and I'll just die if I don't have you to talk to, you know?
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know.
Gosh, I'm hungry all of a sudden. I could really go for a coconut banana mango shake.
That's my best friend. The only person I know who actually likes coconut banana mango shakes enough to order one and then consume it.
Or maybe a hot fudge sundae with lots of whipped cream.
That's my favorite.
Just for Jaid, I think it'll have to be the coconut banana mango shake. She hated them so much, and it'll make me laugh just remembering the way she used to screw up her face and stick out her tongue at me every time I ordered one. I'm really going to miss you, Jaid.
And I'm really going to miss you, Tori.
Good job.
I really do write things that are funny and humorous. 2. Not just sad things. Okay, so these are some ways that people deal with loss. Obviously, one of them's imagined, but I don't know. There have been times when, I remember when I was 9, a friend of mine died and it was an accident. Well, she wasn't really my friend. She was really the neighborhood brat. And nobody liked her. She was mean to everybody, and so we were mean to her. But she was going to buy fireworks, and she was riding down the alley with her little sister on the back of her bicycle, and she didn't slow down when she got to the street, and she ran right into a car. Her sister lived, but she died. I came home from church camp, my first year at church camp, to have this person dead, and I'd been mean to her right before I went to camp. Cured me of ever being mean to people on purpose. I mean,
Carry that guilt forever.
yeah, I
won't
carry
you?
that guilt forever, but no, really, I don't. But I remember, you know, saying to her in the casket, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. But wishing I could fix it, because she was just a little kid. I think she was only 7 or 8. She was still one of the most annoying human beings I've ever met in my life. Probably it was a blessing. She might have done terrible things if she'd grown up. Anyway, she didn't commit suicide.
Or
so I
she
shouldn't
might
have
have
done-
met some nice people who would have helped her.
That's a possibility also. Nevertheless, anyway, as family, friends, and community, we need to have an action plan. This is a crisis, so we need to have an action plan. We need to have things we can do to help the survivors, both people who attempt suicide and are unsuccessful, which is truly successful, and the family and friends of those who commit suicide and die. When we did this play, oh, go ahead.
There's got to be a new dimension coming to this with the Dr. Kevorkian and the planned suicides and the family being around and administering this. It's not, to me, it's not like them committing suicide. It's so assisted. That there's got to be a whole new dimension coming out of this, of guilt and compounding every other emotion.
I remember when my grandfather was, I don't know, 93, 94, 95, 96, somewhere in there, I can't remember. He'd never been sick his whole life, and he had a heart attack. And my grandmother was very angry with him because she was the one who had heart attacks, and she was the one who'd always been ill, and he couldn't possibly be ill, so it took a while for her to call the ambulance because she was mad at him. I don't think it was wicked. I just think that was her response. But anyway.
A kind of denial on her part, and we'll get to those stages when we get to the death and dying.
My grandfather was in a lot of pain after his heart attack, and he only lived 6 weeks. But we would go see him, and he would beg us to kill him, to help him die. Couldn't we do something? Because having never been sick, and I have no way of knowing how much pain he was in. I mean, pain is so relative and subjective, and I don't know, but it must have been a tremendous amount. Because my grandfather had a strong will to live, but he wanted us to help him die, and I just couldn't. He would say, "Ginger, baby, can't you get some pills? Can't you just put the pillow over my face? Can't you just give me a shot? Can't you just do something? I can't stand this. Please help me die. Please help me." I can't, Grandpa. I just can't. I just can't. I wanted to. I wanted him to not hurt. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I had another heart attack and died. I'm really glad that I didn't have to make that choice. If it had gone on a lot longer, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have. But if you have someone begging you over, yeah, over and over and over, someone you love, someone you really care about, I understand people being so torn and not knowing what to do. It is suicide. It is assisted suicide. With my conscience, I just don't think I could live with that. But on the other hand, someone is in so much pain, but they have better ways of controlling pain now than they ever did before. There are pain control centers, and they do all kinds of amazing things, including just killing the nerves so that you don't feel the pain anymore. I mean, if it gets to that bad, fine, kill the nerve. I don't want to feel the pain. Do what you have to do so that I don't hurt. And because you still need to have quality of life, and you still need to, for me, I would want to have life, but don't know how crazy I'd be about having life that's nothing but pain and drugs. But they're doing a lot of research and a lot of treatments for people, and just doing a lot of different things that they haven't done before. Allison?
Well, I was just going to say, this past October I lost a friend to AIDS, and that is something that's really interesting. Well, not interesting, but it's coming up so frequently now that people are, like, for instance, my friend Rick, his lover, Juan, had AIDS, and he had all these different illnesses associated that put him in great physical pain as well as mental pain, because he was caught between leaving this life here that was so painful and leaving behind his lover, and they had decided that if it got to a point that there would be an assisted suicide, but then that left it wide open for the person that was left behind to also want to go with the other person. And that was something that, it was very difficult for me to try to comprehend and try to figure out, how to not feel guilt or pain. I feel a lot of guilt in my life about a lot of things, and especially when I see it go on around me and I can't control it, such pain, it's very hard to deal with, even though you're outside of that situation. So in that case, I think I'm all for assisted suicide,
When Virgil Fry, the chaplain, comes in a few weeks, he'll talk about this whole issue, the importance of living wills, and just we'll get even more into these issues, because cancer patients are one domain of people that have so much pain to deal with.
And because when I interviewed Virgil, he talked about how Western medicine, the goal is to prolong life at any cost, just to keep people alive no matter what.
But if you saw Baywatch Friday night, when I normally don't, but the young woman who was dying there said, "They're not prolonging my life, they're prolonging my death." They could keep her from dying, but they couldn't give her any quality of life back. And these are difficult decisions. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think people really still hang on to there may be a cure before they die.
Yeah.
I know that we did that with my sister's death. We kept hoping and hoping that there would be a cure before it would happen. So you have this natural tendency to try to extend it, just out of love.
Right. And in that case, there's still hope. You're hanging on to hope. But the person who is suicidal has lost hope. They see no way out. They see no choice. at least in this situation, you know, I've got these choices. A choice is to live, and that's a good choice because we have faith in doctors, we have faith in research. And it's just, but at some point, some people cross the line because, like in this case, too many things stack up at one time.
And you know, there's also something that you just said made me click. That a lot of people look to shift blame, and it turns out that a lot of people that are about to die, or their spouse or loved one is about to die, a lot of people often shift that blame towards God. You know, why do you let this happen? Why do you let me suffer? Why are you taking this away from me? And then it's like a circle that they make. They blame, and then they accept, and they come to these terms where now they're, you know, most of the people that I've encountered, they come to accepting terms and taking that blame away from other situational things. So I think that's very interesting.
But have you ever thought about the implication if there were no suffering? See, if there were no suffering, if everything was coming up roses all the time, then we'd probably already be in heaven. Okay? And if there were no suffering, what response would be missing? Grief, but there's an important human response that we have to learn to make. Karen?
You know, the classic thing of you have to know the bitter to be able to appreciate the sweet.
Well, that too, but what I'm getting at here is compassion. One of the most important things as human beings that we have to learn, whether you're religious or not, or whatever flavor of combinations you are, an important, I think, essence of our humanness is compassion. But you can't show compassion if there's no pain. And if you can kind of come to that realization, then maybe God knew what he was doing, or she, whoever, whatever your view of God is. But, you know, if maybe there's some rhyme and reason to this. Most people can get to the point of randomness. And is it Rabbi Kushner that has the good book, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People? You know, and that book makes a strong case for the randomness of bad luck. And some of it we can easily see, other times we feel like. But sometimes we know we've brought it on ourselves. You know, we've made poor choices. We were drinking and then driving and then speeding and being still. Or, you know, we know we made the choices, and then it's harder to deal with. But it also, and we get to more of this when we get to the personal loss material, but recognizing that compassion is an important human response, it means that if you are the needy person, you need to let somebody respond to you. And that gets back to our expressing and needing affection and inclusion and so forth. And if all you can ever do is express and you can't receive, you're coming up short-changed, but you're also short-changing the other person, because you never develop your capacity to express affection if nobody will take it from you. You can't be a caregiver if nobody will accept your care. You see how it has to be a reciprocal deal? And I probably learned that most at my own mother's, the week of her death. She died after an auto accident 24 hours later, and 300 miles from here. And the people who responded, you know, were her friends, and here were strangers coming to the house at 7 o'clock in the morning, making coffee, bringing donuts, doing things that needed to be done. And at first it was, oh no, you know, the feeling was, don't let people respond, don't impose on them. But that was the only thing that they could do for her, was to take care of her children. And so by letting them do what they could for us, it helped us, but it was also an important part of allowing them to respond and do what they could. And whether it's suicide or any other kind of death, letting people do what they can, finding things for them to do, it all works together. I'm probably taking you way off your game plan.
Edna had something she wanted to say.
It was about when you first started saying about expressing and giving love. I've always been able to express it really well. I mean, I've always given to everybody, you know.
Mhm.
And during the time that I did that I started deciding I wanted to commit suicide or whatever, it's because I felt nobody could love me, nobody wanted to love me, you know. I did everything I could for everybody, and nobody wanted to help me, so this is my way to get back at them, you know.
And if you're a caregiver, you sometimes burn out. You know, do you ever ask yourself, who takes care of the caregivers? Who takes care of the psychotherapist? Who takes care of the ministers? The social workers? The lovey people that go around? The moms, did you say? Yeah.
My mom is a therapist.
Yeah.
My dad takes care of her.
You know, but everybody needs at least one person, and preferably half a dozen, to take care of them. But there's some of these people in our society that really get it drained out of them on a regular basis. And we forget that just because they're a psychotherapist or a minister, because they've been trained to do this, it's not like they're able to take care of themselves 100%. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that women seem to need that networking of caregivers receiving from each other, feeding off of each other more so than men?
I think it may manifest itself differently. Karen?
Actually, I think it's a more positive thing. Women are more comfortable allowing people and creating those networks and getting the benefit of it. In fact, I think I've read some research that men have fewer close friends, have a much harder time getting really and having a friend that they can share that kind of intimate, painful stuff with. And so I think men are probably more closed off from those kind of networks and don't get the benefit of it.
My brother Michael is a social worker, and he's wonderful. He lives far north from here, but he does workshops teaching men how to be friends and the importance of friends, because he has worked really hard to develop, he worked real hard to recognize the need for male friendship. And he has some really neat friends that they just love each other, and they spend time riding bikes hundreds of miles and go out and chop wood together, and I don't know. But they do things
Macho
together.
friendship.
Yeah, well, their families do things together also, but he does workshops on that as well as play therapy. I mean, and it's a good combination when you think about it. He does a lot of workshops, but I have a lot of respect for him. He's a neat guy. But that's true. And he sees in the work that he does that there are just a lot of men who need friends who don't know how to have friends or how to be a friend. So anyway, well, I'm going to go back to this other stuff.
Okay, yeah, you got a few minutes here to finish up.
When we did the play, we did twice when we did it. We had different follow-up sessions where we had different people from the community who were experts in different areas come, so that people who had come to the play could have an outlet and a place to get more information or whatever, to educate the church as a whole or whatever. We had an RN who was with the psychiatric assessment team, who had dealt a lot with teenage suicide. We had teachers, EMTs, psychologists, stress management people, prevention education people, just a variety of people who came. There's a plethora of help that you can get from the community to come in. If you feel like there's a crisis coming, there are people who can help you. And I'm sure as big as Houston is, there are a lot of people out there who can help.
We'll be talking about those places later on. Just a quick reminder, those of you viewing at home, if you haven't sent in your form on where you're going to take the test next week, you better phone in and let us know, so your exam will be waiting for you. Was there something else we wanted to remind them? Saturday, yes, the review session and term paper discussion. Give me a call if you need more information on that. It's on your syllabus. Yeah. Okay, that's all. See you next week.